Recently there's an outrage, as there should be. There's a disgust, as there should be, of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. This is not just the audience or fans, but there are many former players, and there are current players, and there are current coaches. They are sick of Adam Silver. They are sick of LeBron James. They're sick of the agendas. They're sick of, if you go against the agenda, you have to be spanked and punished. And a lot of people are fans and players and coaches, retired players, retired coaches, for whatever reason, and maybe it's right, they're having a greater appreciation for David Stern, the late NBA commissioner, David Stern. Rashad McCants came out, pause, and even he went at Adam Silver, and he mentioned how Silver is so soft and he's made this league soft, and the NBA is in fact the most fake democratic, fake liberal league in all of sports, as far as I've seen. But beyond that, David Stern was not someone who was liked either. David Stern was different than Adam Silver. David Stern was really just that, stern. Kwame Brown just told a story about how Stern would have him in the office and David Stern would cuss at him and yell at him and all these things. And Kwame Brown wanted to slap him. I wish he would have. It would have been good content. But David Stern was not all happy and jolly and roses. No, he had his agendas too, but he was, in fact, a better commissioner. But Stern did play his favorites. He did have favorites, but he also had players that he despised. Share this video. Subscribe to this channel if you're not. Like this video. You can donate to the Cash App if you want to support this content. Most of these videos are from donations from people like you. Now, the top 5 players David Stern hated. No particular order, but let's start right here. Latrell Sprewell. Latrell Sprewell. Now, this is an obvious one. Sprewell was a player who came from the University of Alabama. He was a great athlete, great scorer, very quick feet, very agile, good defender, very strong for his height and weight. A very effective player. It didn't matter if he was in Golden State, New York, Minnesota. Sprewell's like an iconic type of player in that 90s, early 2000s era. And he was a clutch player. He really had an all-around game. But the controversy with him was 2 things. Now, most people, when I say Stern didn't like Sprewell, obviously the number one thing you're going to think of is the choking incident with Coach P.J. Carlesimo. And yes, Stern was sickened by that. He didn't like it, all that nonsense. And I've made the parallel on this channel many times. The difference between that NBA and this NBA. Sprewell allegedly puts his hands on a coach. He's kicked out. He's suspended this many games. But Draymond knocks the phlegm out of Jordan Poole's mouth, and he's right back. Draymond steps on somebody, he's right back. Oh, he got a 1-game suspension. Oh, Draymond does this. Oh, he got a 5-game suspension. Oh, he got a 12-game suspension. Please. Stern would have been kicked Draymond out the league. Ja Morant, oh, he got suspended 25 games. What is 25 games? Great. You're going to miss October, November, December. Great. Those games don't mean nothing. Stern would have gave Morant 50 games, 70 games, kicked him out the league a year, 2 years. That's what it should have been. No, you have this fake, soft, liberal man worshiper. I like Ja Morant, so I don't see what the big deal is. Yes, it's always these people who have no morals, no logic, no standards, who always say, oh, I like this person, so I don't see what the big deal is. I think you just answered the question. Look at your mindset, your perspective, or lack thereof. This is the moronic society you're living in. Sprewell puts his hands on the coach, and he gets a severe punishment. And then he was allowed to come back, and they traded him to New York. And he had a rebirth in his career in New York. And you could say Sprewell actually got much bigger because now he was on the Knicks. They made it to the finals. He was an all-star. If he wasn't an all-star, he played like one. And his name got only bigger. He goes to Minnesota. He helped Kevin Garnett. That great season Garnett had with Sam Cassell and Sprewell. And then Stern, who had cooled down a bit from Sprewell, Well, that fire is reignited because after Spreewell's contract is finished in Minnesota, this is when they want to re-sign him, and Spreewell does the infamous, I believe it was 24 million or whatever. I think it was 21, 24 million. That's not enough to feed my family. Now, when Spreewell said that, what he meant was all the work I've put in the league, they should be offering me more money. There were players who were less than Spreewell. There are players who did less than Spreewell who got much bigger contract offers. That's what he meant when he said that. But no. The media, the white media, turned it into, oh, Spreewell's just ungrateful and disrespectful. No, the offer he got was disrespectful. He should have been offered more money. That's a fact. You had players at the time like Brian Cardinal who were getting like gigantic contracts for years. What did Brian Cardinal ever do in the NBA? You had players who had done nothing. You had players averaging 6 points a game, getting 50, 60, 70, $80 million contract for 5, 6 years. Did nothing. Spreewell got offered a low deal, and he was not going to be a slave and sell out to it. But Stern took that as disrespect. Stern took it as a slave master would, and he went to the, you're lucky to even be in this league. How could you ever say this publicly? You know what? Either you take the league minimum or get out the league. So Stern cut down his contract hopes even more. He forced Spreewell, take the league minimum or I'm not going to let you play. This really happened. So he despised Latrell Sprewell for these two incidents. Number 2, no particular order, Dennis Rodman. Stern did not like Dennis Rodman. Now, let's not even go to Stern's an old white man. Rodman was a black man in his late 20s, 30s. Beyond just that, Rodman, he was abnormal. He was a freak show. He brought negative publicity. He brought maybe some positive. But the sideshow, it distracted from David Stern's NBA. Stern loved Michael Jordan. Stern loved the clean cut, NBC presentation. He did not like the outlandish look, appearance, actions, fights, controversies of Rodman. Now, to dislike Rodman for kicking the cameraman, that's correct. For Rodman getting the technicals, that's correct. Rodman arguing with officials, Rodman pulling on people's shorts, and yes, that's correct. But he did not like the sideshow element Dennis Rodman brought to the NBA. Number 3, of players David Stern had a disdain for, Chris Paul. Now, some people might wonder, why Chris Paul? Well, Chris Paul was somebody that... Chris Paul has been known to be very abrasive. There are a lot of people in the NBA that do not like him. He comes off as very arrogant, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, on the court, off the court. And it's said that Chris Paul's trade to the Lakers, which is an infamous trade, was denied because Stern had something personal against Chris Paul. And this is the time when the league was going to take over the New Orleans franchise. And then all of a sudden, there was kind of a little controversy of New Orleans got the number 1 pick, which was Anthony Davis. And New Orleans get the number 1 pick right when the league office takes over the franchise. So Chris Paul is someone who just rubbed people the wrong way. And David Stern is one of these people. So that story's not that deep. But he is someone that he did not, Chris Paul is kind of known not to fall in line. They said there's conflicts with him and, Doc Rivers. Chris Paul's one of these people. But Chris Paul is kept in a certain light because he's friends with LeBron James. Now, the next person, number 4, Ron Artest. Ron Artest, pretty much C. Rodman. The Malice in the Palace. Some of Ron Artest's public statements. That's very easy. Artest, his antics on the floor. And even, in the early 2000s, it's different now. Stern was one of these people. He did pick and choose. He supported whatever Jordan wanted. He supported Shaq. But then, when Shaq wants to do rap music, he doesn't understand it, but, he likes Shaq, and Shaq is marketable. But when Iverson does music, oh, no, Iverson, if you put this out, you're not going to play in my league. Ron Artest, I don't know if many people know this, Artest, he was doing music as well around the time of the Malice in the Palace, and he actually had an album coming out, and Stern, he was disgusted by Artest, and he was another one he picked and choose. He didn't want Artest, why are you doing music? And David Stern, he was very he was very biased to certain parties and against other parties. But with Ron Artest, the malice in the palace, the negative attention, whether whoever was right or wrong, but he could not stand Artest, and Artest is another one. He got a very hefty suspension for that incident. And then lastly, this is very easy. This is very simple. Rasheed Wallace. Now, Rasheed Wallace was someone who pretty much made it famous to get technical fouls, the whole ball don't lie. And this is very simple. Stern did not like the way Rasheed Wallace would show up his officials. He did not like the way Rasheed would flap his arms and yell and scream and stomp like a 7-foot child, even though Rasheed Wallace may have been right sometimes. But Stern was a disciplinarian of sorts, and it's kind of amazing how the league used to be compared to the way it is now, because there are so many players in this league today that might not be in it if Stern was here. And if Adam Silver was a commissioner back in the day, I don't even, Lord, I don't even want to think that way. Anyway, like, share, comment, subscribe, and that's the end of this video. I'm up out of here. That is it.